Static margins is just such a huge thing in aerodynamics. Oh my god, that reminds me of something. I wish I wasn't even playing this game. I'm just running this goddamn game. I don't even care. Because I want to tell you guys about something. Way back when, I think I told this story like a couple years ago. But way back when, there was a science fair. So it was elementary school, right? 1st through 6th for my non-American gamers out there. Ice Boy, thank you for the 14 months, dude. Nice to see Mastering Runeterra back on the YouTube timeline. Yep, a little bit of an announcement. That was supposed to come out like a week ago. Is what it is. Science fair, elementary school, right? And everyone does like stupid things for science fair. It's basically like help at that age. Science fair is basically like just to ask your parents for help, and they do the thing because you have to make like this. You have to come up with a hypothesis, right? And then you have to test it, and then you have to write a report about how, how you're testing your hypothesis, what you came up with. Right? What conclusions you're able to draw from it. And you have to put it on this big poster board thingy. You know what I'm talking about. It's a poster board that has 2 angles, kind of like this. So it's like this shape. Gear up. It's like the main thing and then the 2 little wings of the poster board. So you have to do that. And, 3rd graders can't do that shit. The trifold. Yeah, the trifold, that thing. Yes, exactly. You know what I'm talking about. And so people basically just have their parents do it. I wanted to do it myself. I was a very, let's say, scientifically minded child. I was all about science. I wanted to be a scientist when I grew up. Specifically, I wanted to do anything that worked with space. Like aeronautical engineer type shit. Or some kind of physicist or whatever. And then I found out that I was like, later in life, I found out that I was like smart, but not like that smart. And that they didn't make very much money. So here I am playing fucking video games. Anyway, I decided I wanted to do my own project. I didn't need anyone's help. So I came up with this idea. What I wanted to do was figure out my hypothesis or whatever. Or the question I was asking basically was which wing shape and angle generated the most lift, right? How do I catch a Ditto in Pokemon Go? I don't know. I don't play Pokemon Go. I played Pokemon Go during like Pokemon Go Summer, and that's about it. And there was a Squirtle like trail. We'd go in to catch Squirtles every day.
Interesting use of tech.
Anyway, just put him back. Take my lumps. So yeah, I want to see which shape of wing and angle generated the most lift. So what I did was I cut out 3 different shapes of wings, right, out of plywood. I had one that was just like the standard, just like it was just like a board basically. That was like kind of my like control, right? And then I had one that was more like almost like a butterfly. I would say it's like it went down a bunch, but wasn't very like wide. Sorry, it was it didn't go very long, but it was like wide, thicker, right? More almost circular. And then I had another one that was kind of closer to what you'd see an actual airplane have, where it's like a little bit curved like this. And then
Want a piece of me?
How I tested it was I got a food. If I do this, Set could die, and I don't want Set to die because I just want to cast Feel the Rush and win the game. How I tested it was I got like one of those food weights, right? The very sensitive scales. And I hot glued another piece of plywood to it, like this, and then I etched like a notch into it. And so the wings I would put on this little thing that would slot into the notch to hold the wing there. And I had 3 different ones for each like angle. Like this, and then like very shallow. And then I had a fan, a like small but hard fan that I'd put at a certain distance away. It was like 8 inches away from the scale, and I would turn it on. And I would weigh the thing. Like I would weigh it. So I'd notch in the wings, I'd weigh it, and then I'd turn the fan on, and it would reduce the weight because of the lift from the air hitting the wings would pull up, right? Reducing some of the weight. Bro, I'm in 3rd grade or whatever, right? I'm fucking 8. And I was like so proud of this thing that I built. And then I would write down the weight differential, and then I would do some division based on like, I would do like the weight differential, and I'd be like, okay, this is how much the difference in weight is percentage-wise, because some of the wing shapes weighed more than others. So I had to take that into account. I had to be like, okay, yeah, technically this gap is bigger, this difference in weight is bigger, but this wing weighed more to start with. So how much is it well, our set's not even flipped. How much weight is it generating? Like, how much lift is it generating per weight for the wings? You get what I'm saying? You have no idea what I'm talking about? Okay, apparently I'm doing a terrible job. Basically, I would cut out different shapes of wings. I would put them in a little doohickey, and I'd blow air at it, and I would see which one
The power spike.
made the doohickey go up more. That's basically what I was doing, right? We're dead, actually.
Testing.
Yeah, we're actually just dead. That's good. I can tell my story better. So, that's what I did, right? And then, like I said, I had to do a little bit of division. I would say tricky division, but it was not like... It wouldn't be tricky division for any of you. It was just tricky division because I was in 3rd grade. On making sure that it wasn't weighted towards like, oh, this wing was bigger, it generated more lift, blah, 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 right? I had to do it on like a per basis, whatever. Again, doing a horrible job explaining this. Anyway, I did all this stuff. I put it on my poster board, and I was really, really proud of this. I was really, really proud of this, and I figured out, oh, this wing shape at this angle generates more lift than the others given this setting. Can I tell a story about the science experiment? This time make it coherent? No, apparently I cannot. And then I turned it in, and I was so excited to show it off. We had the little science fair thing. I set mine up. I even had my little like food scale with the wing in and the fan, so I could like turn it on. You could see the weight, and then I'd turn on the fan, and I'd be like, look how much it like changes. That's how much lift it's generating. And I got a D. A D. They almost failed me. Did they say why? No. No. I think like maybe I didn't do a very good job explaining what I was doing or something. Asked the question, didn't have a hypothesis. I had a hypothesis. I read the rubric. I knew what to do. I hypothesized that this wing shape at this angle would generate the most lift. It was not correct. It was a different angle, but I think most of that was because of the testing parameters I was using, because the angle that the wind was blowing at, and how more lift generated upwards instead of upwards and back would give a better result because of the test. But still. So that's what happened. I got a D. The bicarbonate volcano, A's. With the handwriting that was clearly their parents, A's. Yeah. I was pissed, bro. I still remember that. And that's why I play video games, yeah, instead of doing science. Oh, man. I bet if I, like, read what I wrote now, I'd be like, yeah, this is a bunch of dog shit. But, like, I spent a lot of time on that, and I was really proud. Let me know. Congrats again. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited to play the world. I'm excited to get to testing and everything. Did a similar thing and got, like, a C+, except it was testing water buoyancy based on temperature of water. That's cool. That's cool. Didn't stop you from trying to be a pilot. That's true. But I didn't try to be a pilot till way later in life. Way later. And I was only trying to be a pilot because I didn't know what else to do, and they made a lot of money. When am I plotting my revenge? My revenge is that they no longer get my keen scientific mind to add to the scientific community gestalt, and now I play video games instead. That's my revenge. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce the word gestalt. So I'm actually studying. Used to teach college physics. Can't imagine the experience not getting A+ even high school or college, much less third grade. Yeah, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it because I knew how much effort I put in, and I was like, I was so used to getting like A's on things in school, and I was like, oh, I worked really, really hard on this, and then I got a D. I actually studied fluid momentum. You generate more momentum the less the angle between the fluid coming in and fluid going out. Generating more momentum, the less the angle between fluid coming in and fluid going out. I'm sure if you explain that using different words, I'd be like, oh yes, words. But right now I'm like, what? I must have thought you didn't do it yourself and got an adult to do it. Yeah, they're like, damn, your parents have shitty ass handwriting, which is true, actually. My dad has really bad handwriting. So you usually did good in school? Yes, I did actually do very well in school until I didn't. I was what you've heard this a million times. I'm sure a lot of you actually think this as well of yourself. I try not to talk about it because it makes me sound like a douchebag because I hate being the stereotype. But I was very smart in school. I was the gifted and talented education program. I was in, the gifted child burnout. You already know. Yep. I don't even like to say it because I feel like an idiot when I say it because it's like such a stereotype and everyone says it. But yeah, I was really good at school, really smart, really early for everything. I was the youngest of my year. Could have skipped grades. Like, I, took algebra classes in like elementary school. And then middle school hit. Like about 8th grade hit. And I have this weird thing. That's something I actually work really, really hard on getting over, even now in life. If I'm not the best at something, I struggle to do it at all. I have like huge confidence issues if I'm not the literal best at something. So basically what happened is I was very smart in my small pool. I got to middle school. I realized there were people smarter than me, and I kind of just shut down. And like, I didn't realize that people who were smart still had to work at difficult things. I just thought it was like, oh, I didn't immediately understand this difficult subject. I must not be very smart. I must not be as smart as people tell me I am. Or whatever, right? So I kind of like, I'm not going to say I crashed and burned. Whatever. I didn't have like gifted child burnout per se. What I had was a lot of confidence issues. I had imposter syndrome out the wazoo. And I got lazy because of it. I never really put in the work because if I put in the work and didn't do very well, then it meant I wasn't very good, right? But if I didn't put in the work and didn't do very well, well, of course that happened. I didn't put in the work, right? But if I'd have put in the work, obviously I would do well. I always had that excuse, right? So yeah, that's my school story or whatever. Not much of a story, but yeah. I did, however, get burned out in sports. Speaking of it, if any young people are watching this and you're in college or late high school or whatever, don't do that. Just like try hard at things. Kind of wish I'd have done that more. There's like no reason not to. You realize formal school isn't actually that important? No, it's not. It's not. But okay, so the actual like degree or whatever can be kind of important. Just the fact that you have a degree can be important, right? But the actual like schooling doesn't matter basically at all, unless you're doing something very, very, very specific. I would say like like a STEM type thing. Then the schooling is very, very important. Otherwise, you're gonna learn on the job, and it doesn't fucking matter. But higher education and the opportunities that come along with doing well in higher education. So even just like high school type things. And then when you get into college, you go to a nice college, you get into these programs you normally wouldn't get into. It opens a lot of doors and you make connections with people that you normally wouldn't make connections with. And those are more important than anything else. And that is the value of going to things like a higher up college and doing certain kind of programs. You will get more opportunities in your life based on who you know than what you know, unless you're like a fucking genius. Like, and even then, it's like insane. The older I get, the more I realize how much more it matters to just like know the right people. So many things have been made easy that would have been very difficult because I happen to know that one guy, right, who had an in for me at this thing or could get me a good deal on that thing. Absolutely insane. Yeah, just crazy to think about. Honestly, the best part about higher education for me was learning how to learn. Okay, that's actually a big thing for me that I learned from video games, specifically card games. And my other random hobbies that I picked up. But yeah, just like trying to get better, realizing that doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again doesn't exactly make you better. Did I get some degree? No, I don't have a degree. No, I went to Brigham Young University in Idaho. I went for 1 year. I had a really rough time socially because BYU is a very, very Mormon school, and BYU, Idaho, is almost 100% Mormon. And I did not fit in, and I got very depressed. And I had a rough time. Then I came home just for like semester or whatever. I came home because school started again in like 2 months, and my family was very worried about me. My dad was like, "You're clearly not happy. Like, I am very worried about you. Why don't you just not go back?" And I was like, "Holy shit, you can just not go back?" What? You can just not go back to college? So I didn't go back to college. But I got some really good things from BYU Idaho. I got to play more lacrosse, which was nice, at a much more casual setting than I was used to, because I was used to playing for a very competitive high school, and I was used to competing on travel teams and stuff with D1 recruits and things like that. Usually years up. So I was practicing with the college teams when I was like a sophomore and junior in high school. So it was really nice to play lacrosse in a league where everyone else was just normal people who played lacrosse, because I got to realize that I was good at it. And that was very nice because, again, lots of confidence issues. So, yeah. What'd I play? I played attack early on in lacrosse. I switched to midfielder later on in high school, then defensive midfielder because I had confidence issues and wouldn't shoot the ball. And then in college, I went back to attack because I just wanted to catch the ball, juke past one person, and score. I didn't want to run a lot because it was a high elevation over there. Chalky, actually having a similar problem right now, not to the same extent, but you just started uni again at 26 and really struggling socially as everyone is so much younger and immature. Yeah, that would probably be very difficult. One of my roommates was 25 when I was in there. And I think he found that kind of difficult as well. Do you have like other hobbies that you can do that may have like an older age? I saw someone else ask, Shiny asked, do I have any hobbies besides card games? Yeah, no, I totally do. I used to have a lot more hobbies before I was streaming. Now streaming is like a hobby / job. But I read a lot, voraciously. You've probably met nobody in your life who reads more than me. Maybe 1 or 2 people. Like, I think the only person in the community I've met who reads more than me is Dark Codius. Like, when I was waiting to go live, I was reading on my phone. At nights, I read. When I'm peeing, I read on my phone while I'm peeing because I don't want to waste the time where I otherwise could be reading. In between sets at the gym, which I do. That's also a hobby. I'm reading. I play some sports. Currently volleyball. Big fan of volleyball. I used to play more higher impact sports like hockey. But it's tough to like this is going to sound so dumb, but hockey requires a lot of things. Like, you have to put on a lot of like shit to get ready to play hockey. You can't just like walk out and play hockey, and like it requires a lot of there's more friction is what I'm saying. Between you not playing hockey and you playing hockey. There's more things you have to do before you just get to play hockey. Whereas volleyball, I could just walk out and play volleyball. I don't even have to really stretch beforehand. I don't have to be warmed up or shit. I don't need to bring anything. I can just play volleyball, right? And like, that's really nice. Bought Name of the Wind because of you? Hell yeah. I hope you liked it. Let's see. What other hobbies did I have? So I used to be really, really into piano. You can see actually the end of my keyboard right there. I kind of gave it up because I just don't have time anymore with content creation. I honestly could, but I found myself stressing out a lot when I would miss days practicing because I felt like I was not falling behind, but kind of the same thing. Let's hear something. I don't even play anymore. I don't even know how. I played for like 3 years, and now I haven't touched a piano key in a year and a half. But I used to be really into it. Why don't I sell it? It's really not worth the effort. And maybe I get a spurt of inspiration for a month and I want to jam again. And I'd like to have it there. I stopped playing it mostly because we moved and I didn't have access to a real piano anymore. This is digital, obviously. And going from like a baby grand piano, which is like, a real physical piano where when you press the keys, you actually feel the feedback. Digital pianos mimic the feel, but it's not the same. And that was really tough for me to go from practicing on like a real piano to something that sounds worse and feels worse. And I struggled to keep practicing. Debating picking up. Oh, the MetaQuest 3. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. Is this the next generation of Guitar Hero teaches you how to play guitar? And the other big hobby that I do have other hobbies, but there's one that I was really into when I started streaming. If any old heads in chat can remember what it is, you'll get a round of applause. I'll clap for you. I don't think any of you will know what it is, but I was really into it when I started streaming. I did a lot. Dragon Ball FighterZ, that's still video games. That's not a hobby. Not Rock Band. Nope. It's a skill. It's a learned skill, something you have to practice a lot. It's not art. Now you're just shooting in the dark. You won't get it. You won't get it. Poker, chess. I've done some of those. Yeah, Professor X has got it. It's Korean. Yeah, poker's a good guess though because I was also super into poker. But some of the books back there, actually, you can see them right here. These are Korean books, Korean workbooks. I have my Sogang textbooks here. I have 5 or 6 workbooks completely filled out. I took Korean really seriously for about a year and a half, 2 years. I was really, really into it. I watched a random YouTube video by Billy Go Korean or Go Billy Korean or something like that, where he talked about how easy it is to learn the alphabet, and I watched it with no interest in learning Korean. I don't know anything about the Korean culture or anything. And it's like, you can learn the Korean alphabet in 30 minutes or less. And I was like, yeah, fucking right. But you can. It's the coolest alphabet system I've ever seen. It's called Hangul. And it fascinated me. It reminded me of the cipher chronicler uses in one of the early chapters in The Name of the Wind book, if you've read that one. Also, that's right. There. And it is the sickest alphabet system. It's so like ingenious. Didn't come about till like the year 1500 or something. And so I just bought his textbooks and I started working on them like the next day. I ordered them like 2 hours after I watched that video. And I just dove right into it. I was super, super, super into it. I was actually planning to move to Korea for an extensive learning course. I was going to take an extensive language course at the one of the universities there in Korea. But I had plane tickets booked to go spend 2 weeks there to make sure I liked it. Was it meant for the common man to be able to learn? Yes, it's incredibly easy to pick up. So I had plane tickets booked to go check it out. I was going to go for 2 weeks, and then I was going to come back, and I was going to go, then book the course or whatever, and go live in Korea for about a year, maybe 2. And COVID happened. Yep, the COVID lockdown happened right before I left on my trip. So I never got to. I actually was just in a really long, me and my brother were in a really, really long fight with the airlines to get credits back for those plane tickets. And then, yeah, I still practiced really hard through COVID, still practicing on Korean and everything. And then eventually, as lockdown went longer and longer and longer, and I started getting more into streaming, and prices kept going up, inflation was going up, money wasn't worth as much anymore. It just looked, it just looked further and further away and more unlikely. And then it just kind of, like all hobbies do, sometimes they just kind of, I still think about it fondly, and I really wish that I was still doing it, because that was something I took a lot of joy from, was slowly getting better and learning. There's something to be said by when you're going through a workbook and you're really struggling on every word or whatever, and then by the end of the workbook you go back to the beginning and you can just read it, right? You can just read it, you can just say it, you can just respond, and you're just like, wow, that is that kind of concrete growth I feel like you don't see very often in the adult world or whatever. And that felt so good. I miss that a lot. What's the name of the dude? The guy who made the YouTube video? I'll see if I can find you the YouTube video, actually. It's probably old now. It's probably 5 years old. He's good. Here it is.
We noticed.
Oh my god, bro.
Kinda...
Ads on YouTube are fucking out of control. This is a video. It was like a part series though, and this is all of them put together. Learn Korean with Go Billy Korean.
Hi, I'm Billy, and in this video series, we'll be learning how to read and
just some
write
white
Hangul.
Dude who moved to Korea.
Hangul is the word for the Korean alphabet. Now, you might be afraid to learn Hangul,
and this
or
is
think that it's too difficult. Draw another similar line. And once more, and from the top to the bottom.
And so I just watched this video one night at midnight or whatever, eating my candy.
This vowel is pronounced.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's such an interesting system because you literally just take the consonants and the vowels and you just put them together. That's it. And then you just make the sounds when you put them together. Obviously, it can get a little more it can get a little bit more difficult than that, but I just thought this was the craziest thing. And like I said, yeah, I clicked on his thing and I bought his textbook. And then I started learning Korean. Poker was a hobby of mine. Sorry, I know this says Runeterra in the stream title. We'll get to it, don't worry. Poker was a really big hobby of mine. I talked to you guys about this quite a bit. Because I was really into Magic the Gathering, and I wanted to play card games all day. So I was like, oh, poker. It's like card games, but you make money. And I started learning it really hard when I was 20, because you can't play in America until you're 21. And then the second I turned 21, I got a job at a casino as a poker dealer, so I could watch the game and be more just be more into it, because again, I couldn't play poker in a casino. So being next to poker in a casino was the next best thing I could get. Plus it paid me. And then I slowly transitioned from dealing poker to playing poker, where I'd be dealing as many days as possible, and then dealing as many days as possible, but leave Sundays open, and Sundays I play poker, and then kind of scaling it more to a 50-50. So I was just grinding cash games, making about $20 an hour, maybe a little less than that, maybe $18 an hour. I don't know. I probably still have the Excel sheet somewhere that shows my earnings and average earnings and shit. I was playing 1-3 tables because I didn't have the bankroll to play 2-5. Eventually, I started splashing the 2-5 tables, but I was playing 1-3 at the time, and it's fucking miserable. My God, no one tells you this, I feel like, but playing poker for a living is so fucking boring. It's so boring. Because you have your basically set things that you're going to be doing every single time, and then you're not playing 95% of your hands at all. You don't even consider them a little bit, so you're just sitting there waiting forever for something to happen, and then after a while, the highs and lows of the hands, the big wins and the big losses, they don't really matter to you anymore, because you know that you're slowly grinding out $18 an hour or whatever at this 1-3 table over the course of 100,000 hands. And so it's just monotonous. And then like sometimes you beat someone who goes all in and they just like, you know, you have them beat, but they like clearly don't have a lot of money. And it's your job to take their money. It feels like shit. Feels bad. I did not like it. Then there's the like, poker people are not my people. I have made some friends in poker that I liked. I liked them a lot. They're good people, but like by and large, the poker community, not my favorite. There's a lot more like scummy people that are out to get you than I think you would see in other communities, and I just didn't like to be around that. Used to play poker with your friends and winning was worse than losing? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Every now and then I'll play games with people. Video games, board games, whatever. And I'm naturally very good at like anything that has to do with strategic stuff because I played so many strategy games that what's good in one usually translates. So you can kind of figure it out quicker. And so I'll beat people a lot. And you just like... Sometimes you just start throwing a little bit. Because it's like, it's not fun. Because you're like, yeah, I have it again. So you're just kind of like, let them win one or two. So I play Flesh and Blood, right? Now, Flesh and Blood is a card game. Very, very, very competitive card game. There's this hero named Bravo Star of the show. We call him Starvo, and we don't talk about him. However, I'm going to talk about him. He's banned. He hit the amount of points to hit Living Legend to be retired. And in the time between him hitting the amount of points to get retired and actually being retired a few weeks later, he almost doubled the points. He almost retired twice. That's how busted this guy was, right? So for Starvo, what Starvo does is if there's like 3 elements in Flesh and Blood, like ice, earth, lightning. And for Starvo, if you have an ice card, an earth card, and a lightning card in your hand, you can reveal all 3 of them. And then you get a big effect, right? Now, with Flesh and Blood, you draw a new 4 cards every turn. So 3 of your cards have to be the element, and then usually you want 1 payoff card. It's not supposed to happen super often. However, people mathed out the deck, and then you could make it very, very, very reliable that you would hit Starvo Fuse, we call him Starvo again, a lot. So you would just like play, and I'm playing in literal tournaments with money on the line, qualification tournaments and stuff. And I'll just be like, Fuse Starvo. And then the next turn, I'll draw up my hand, and I'm like beating them pretty bad, right? But again, this is a tournament for like money. You know, you don't go easy on people in these tournaments. But I'll be like Starvo Fuse, and then I'm pretty far ahead, and I'll draw up, and for the 3rd turn in a row, I have Starvo Fuse. But I just won't do it. I'll just like pretend I don't and hope they don't notice because I feel so bad about getting lucky that I just like wouldn't do it. I just be like, I'll block with this earth card and I'll pitch this lightning and ice card to play this card. And like, I feel like no one ever picked up on it, but I didn't do it very often, but it definitely happened in a couple tournaments where I just felt bad for just rolling people from getting lucky. And yeah, that would extend to other things too. It's like the worst feeling in the world is when you're winning and someone like makes you feel bad about winning. Someone like guilts you. Do you sandbag Kano games? No, bro, I'm blasting. I'm blast. Because with Kano, you're always losing until you win, right? So it's like, it's a completely different thing. Completely different thing. Have I played board games where I throw to make it close / not ruin the vibes? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No wild mushroom stories? I've never done mushrooms. I've actually never... Oh my god, do I have another story? I've actually, like, never really done drugs. Ever. I drink alcohol, which I didn't even start doing until I was like 22. I had an edible once on purpose because I had a really bad headache And doctors have been telling me for a very long time that doctors and a lot of other people whose opinion I trust, that THC products could help my headaches because they're tension headaches, which basically is when my body, namely my neck and back along my spine, gets so tense over the course of the day that I get a headache because of it. So if I can relax the muscles before the headache starts, I don't get the headache. And so I had an edible to help me with that. Didn't really like it very much, but it did help. And so the doctors were like, "Nah, bro, hit this." But one time I had a headache so bad right before a not a really big tournament, just a big tournament, a Pro Tour qualifier, that I walked down the street to the smoke shop and I said, "Hey man, I need something to like loosen me up, to like relax my muscles, but I don't want any THC in it. I don't want any like weed. I don't want to get high at all. I've been told like CBD products can help me. What do you have?" He owns the smoke shop. I'm going to trust him or whatever. And he's like, "Oh man, you want this one then? You want this one? This is exactly what you want." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Hand over an egregious amount of money. Cause smoke shop smoking stuff is so expensive. It's like, you know, little gummies or whatever. And I don't know if you guys have had, I hope you haven't had very bad headaches, but I've had very bad headaches my entire life. Chronic migraines since I was 5. And then when I grew out of them, about 19, I just have these chronic tension headaches. I've just had headaches my entire life. I'm so used to having them. When you get really bad headaches, your brain stops working very well. I tell people that it feels like thinking through mud, where like you have a thought and you're trying to like get it there, but it just like doesn't work. Or you like read a word, like I would read Karmaset, and sometimes my head hurts really bad, and I read Karmaset, and I understand what the words mean, but I don't like get it. Like I read, and I could say out loud Karmaset, but like the words take a really long time to have meaning. I don't know if you guys experience this, but it's basically really bad brain fog. Right, really bad brain fog. And I walk over. I have a tournament to qualify me for a Pro Tour in 30 minutes, and I walk over and I buy the gummies the guy gives me after asking specifically for just CBD, no THC, blah 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 blah. The worst you ever had when one of your eyes just stopped working, went super tunnel vision? That happens. Yeah, you just can't see. You can't see sometimes. Sometimes I just start throwing up just because it hurts really bad. And then people go like, "Oh my God, that's horrible." And then you're like, "No, the throwing up is the best part because then for some reason it hurts a little bit less." So you're like, "Yes, I'm going to throw up." Yeah, headaches are, I don't wish really bad headaches on anybody. They are the worst. So, buy my CBD with no THC. I don't read the product because again, words, headache, not working. I'm too far gone with the headache. I can't really read what's going on here. So I ask him how much to take because I can't really read it. And he's like, "Oh, you want to take 2?" And I was like, "Okay, I don't take this stuff. Do I still want to take 2?" And he's like, "Yeah, you take 2." So I go and I take 1. I take 1 with the thought of if I don't feel it in like a bit, I'll take another one. And so I'm playing this tournament and I'm really struggling with the first round because my head hurts so bad. But then the second round, I start feeling looser and the headache kind of goes away. But halfway through the third round, something weird starts to happen. I'm playing my game and I'm focusing and I just have my hand on the table like this, you know, covering my hand, and I just look at my hand and I like turn it over. And then I look at my opponent and I tell him, I'm like, "Something's wrong." He's like, "What's going on? What do you mean? What do you mean?" And I'm like looking at my hand and I'm like, "I'm disassociating right now." I was like, "I know this is my hand. It doesn't feel like my hand. Something's wrong." And I'm like, I'm worried. I apparently get paranoid when I have THC products, which again, it was not supposed to have any THC in it. But I apparently get a little paranoid, and I know something is wrong here, and I'm worried that there's like, I'm having a stroke or something, right? Like that was what I was thinking. I was like, I'm having a fucking stroke, which is why I told my opponent something's wrong. I was not having a stroke, but I was high. They had a lot of THC in it, apparently. When I asked around, I was like, how much THC is this? And they're like, that's a lot. How much did you take? And I was like, 1. And like, do you ever smoke weed? And I was like, no. And they're like, and you took a whole one? I was like, yeah. And they're like, bro, good luck. So I play the rest of the tournament just super high. Just super high. I'm just like doing random stuff. If you play Flesh and Blood, you'll get this joke. If you don't, just pretend that I make a mistake and laugh at it. I'm sitting there and I have this card and I'm like, I better keep this card so I can arsenal it for next turn. And then I'm holding it and I look at my opponent and I'm like, pass. And he goes, you don't want to arsenal your card? And I'm like, nope, I do what I wanna. And then he draws up and I look at the card and I'm like, I was supposed to arsenal this card. That was the whole point of keeping it. Why did I say no? Like, just so dumb. Anyway, I won that tournament. But yeah, that was my first time ever actually being high, and pretty much the only time, and I do not like it very much. So that's I won. I took first place and I qualified for the Pro Tour. Yeah, so the headache went away, which is great. But I did not make the best decisions at all. So yeah, moral of the story, I don't really do drugs. Those were my only 2 experiences with drugs ever. Was the one time I took an edible on purpose to try to get rid of a headache, and the one time I took an edible on accident to try to get rid of a headache. Smoked once, didn't like it, but you do get drunk pretty easily. That's nice, or not nice, depending. Weed is not a drug. What do you mean? It's a substance. Alters your fucking frame of mind or whatever. It's like saying alcohol is not a drug. Or caffeine. Was it Delta 8 or was it actual THC? I'm pretty sure it was actual THC. But yeah, I get paranoid, apparently. And I don't really like it. I don't really need any kind of substance that makes me want to not do things more. That doesn't seem super helpful for me, who already doesn't want to do things, to then partake in a substance which makes me even more not want to do things. But yeah, how do people like smoke weed at parties? How do they do that? If I did that, if I was like hanging out at a party and I like had the edible that I had to try to get rid of the headache or whatever, right? I have that. I would just go sit down. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. At least with like alcohol, I feel more social and then I crash. It's tolerance. They don't get nearly as high. Okay. Kind of like a buzz. Like when you get when drinking. Kind of like the same thing, I'm assuming. So, yeah. Don't love that feeling. Not my favorite. All right. That's enough about drugs. You guys and your fucking druggies.